Seems only appropriate to have a legend like David Bowie bring us back from commercial break. So we're going to talk some music memorabilia with the Colts owner, Jim Irsay. He's got a lot of stuff, a lot of guitars. Just bought a piano that was Elton John's, John Lennon's piano. Bring in the Colts owner, Jim Irsay. Jim, thanks for joining us. We'll get to Carson Wentz. We'll get to Peyton Manning. We'll get to Andrew Luck. But what's the piece of memorabilia that you don't have but you want?
Well, it's a great question, and I'm reading. I've read several books about it. I'm reading one now, actually. I believe the Holy Grail, from my perspective as an artist, as a collector, as a musician, as whatever term you want to use, a human traveler, is Robert Johnson's guitar. It probably won't ever be found. His guitar, if you talk to musicians like Eric Clapton, Pete Townsend, just the greatest guitarist ever, Robert Johnson, just developed a style of play that it influenced people today, and is probably the most iconic musician that kind of combines all forms of music. So I'd love to find it, but I don't think we will. But that's why it's the Holy Grail.
But you buy Elton John's Steinway. Do you play it or just look at it?
That one is very much of a playable, incredible Steinway. I have John Lennon's piano, and it was in his flat in his house for many, many years. He wrote Sgt. Pepper's on it. He put a plaque on it on the side and listed some of the songs he wrote on it. And quietly, somehow, I secured it in a sale, except that when it came, it was never taken care of very much since Don passed away 40 years ago. So it doesn't really play. There's some dead keys on it. So the debate goes on with things like that. Do you fix it or do you leave it as he left it?
What do you remember about that day? I think you were 12 years of age when your dad purchased the Colts. Was that 1971? You were 12?
Yeah, I was 12 years old. And the biggest thing that I remember is we went up to training camp at Golden, Colorado, where they make the Coors beer. Back then you used to go on the road for training camps and they liked the altitude. So I'm 12 years old. I'm nervous as hell. I'm in the cafeteria. It's training camp. I'm there to work as a ball boy. And I get a tap on my shoulder and it's, "Son, move your ass." And it was Johnny Unitas. So I'm like, "Yes, sir." And I sat down and that began the lineage of all the players telling me how I need to do things when my time came. I had the 75 team in 2012 in Burt Jones, and everyone was still alive. Ray Oldham was gone and we couldn't find Jackie Wallace, unfortunately. Nelson Muncie was gone. But besides that, Burt Jones, Lydell Mitchell, Ray Chester, George Coons, Ted Marchibroda, they all came in. I gave them division championship rings from 75. And I sent one to Bill Belichick because, see, here's this 16-year-old. The funny thing about Deflategate was, here's this 16-year-old kid. Okay, my responsibility was put the Vaseline on the offensive lineman. But they're yelling at you, wipe it down because it's got to look like sweat because it's not legal. So they have tight jerseys so the defensive lineman can't grab the offensive lineman. So they're yelling at me, these giants, wipe it down, So, because they knew we were artists on how to make it look like sweat. So, 6 feet away, Bill Belichick sitting there, 24 years old as Ted Marchibroda's only intern coach that year, watching me do this. When Deflategate came up, I just could only laugh because, here's Bill, here am I in a different era in our lives, but I did send Bill a ring for that. I actually saw Bill at the Hall of Fame this weekend, so that was fun.
Did you think about trying to put an end to Deflategate because it really didn't impact anything. I mean, it was kind of silly.
You know, it kind of got legs of its own. You know, I don't really think it has any merit to anyone's legacy. Upping their legacy or damaging it at all. Of course, not at all. I just I think it's just one of those things where Dan, we're competitors, and damn it, if you want to fight. I mean, the Patriots and Colts, you have to remember. I mean, brother, it's like, we love each other off the field. We really do. I mean, I saw Tom Brady. I saw Tom up there. I saw Bill. I love those guys. I have the utmost respect for them. But when we're in the ring, hey, it's give no quarter, take no quarter.
I have a piece of memorabilia here, one of a kind. And I don't know if you would have been interested in this, but I have Ryan Leaf's jersey if the Colts had drafted Ryan Leaf.
Wow.
So they shot a little commercial, a promo, and he held up the Colts jersey. So Ryan gave me the jersey, autographed the jersey. But then I found out the great Rolling Stone writer, Hunter S. Thompson, wrote you a letter prior to the 1998 draft and said, select Ryan Leaf. Do you still have that letter?
I do. I still have it. Hunter was just so hilarious,
that would have been the reason why I wouldn't have drafted Ryan Leaf if Hunter Thompson is telling me to draft Ryan Leaf.
Well, it's really interesting. Some of these things have popped up, and I'm so proud of Ryan to see him doing so well. I saw him, I have a picture of Peyton and I and him at the Hall of Fame, on Friday night before we did the Gold Jackets, and he was just there, and Peyton invited him to sit down at his table, which I thought was awesome. And, I was just talking to Ryan, and then, Ryan's been kind of, doing, I know, some broadcast work and stuff. And, it's quite the story. It really is. I can only tell you that half the National Football League would have taken Ryan Leaf and half would have taken Peyton. If anyone says different, they're not telling the truth. I had a trusted personnel person that I knew, for decades that was very expert, and 5 minutes before the draft, I said, who you taking? And he said, Ryan Leaf. I mean, this guy's good, and he was wrong, but we try to be as right as we can, but you just, the thing about Bill Polian is, I brought him in so him and I could huddle up on a decision like that.
Speech almost sounded like an audition for being the commissioner.
Well, I don't think he has to audition for almost anything, quite frankly. I think it's like President of the United States, commissioner, own an NFL team. Let's see which one. Knowing Peyton, I'm not sure what direction. Him and I have had a lot of talks, and we've talked through the years and talked through some scenarios since he's retired and that sort of thing. But I think he's done the right thing. John Elway took a long time before he jumped back in it, and Peyton has been retired only for a certain amount of time, and he has young kids still. But I really think with Peyton that he's a competitor, and the thing he likes to do the most is win football games. He wants to beat you and be part of professional football on a team. I think he would like to go win a lot of games as an owner / general manager, whatever you want to call it.
Have you talked about him coming in part of the ownership of the Colts?
I not on ownership. That wouldn't be available here. It's just something, when you own 100% like I do, and my family does, and you're going down that lineage line. I mean, I look at, I think most of us owners, like the Rooneys and the Maras and the Houses, we would never give up a percentage of our team. We just wouldn't. It's just, I guess, old school, the Hunts or whatever.
Well, when's the last time somebody made an offer to buy the Colts?
Recently, probably about probably about a month ago, to be honest with you. It's a great look. It's a great investment. I've told any owner that's ever come into the league, and I've talked to a lot of them. I said, you will never regret what you just paid for this club. It will be worth more than you can imagine, and you will never look back, because in the 100-year history of the league, no one has ever, not once. And those things, look at those things can disappear. You never get, overconfident, because the largest mountain can fall.
When's the last time you talked to Andrew Luck?
Well, gosh, I say it's been probably about, probably about at least a year. I mean, in my mind, when this thing ended, it wasn't coming back. It just, and I talked to Chris and Frank about it, and I know they were really, hoping that it would come back. Other people thought maybe time would change something, but I really knew deep down inside of me that it was over. That it wasn't coming back, and he wasn't coming back. And I think, boy, I tell you, it's something, to be a franchise quarterback in this league. You can't be in 95%. I mean, you got to be in 100%. I mean, it is big time demanding, so I just wish him well with his daughter, and he has a wonderful wife, and he has a big future ahead of him. It's just not, in professional football as a quarterback, and he's made that clear, and he's never wavered on that.
Are you expecting Carson Wentz to be your starting quarterback that opening game against Seattle?
I hope that he is, but I told Carson, I said, hey, you got to be 100% before you come back. None of us want you to rush it. We want to look back 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, and say, this is, his 101st consecutive start or whatever. That's what it's about. My biggest goal, to do anything I possibly could, is to give the best atmosphere for him to stay healthy and stay on the field, because, he's a tough guy, and he wants it. He wants it as much as anyone. And I think it's just a question of getting into that, the football gods, call it what you want, but just into that groove. I mean, obviously, he's a big, strong guy. He's a competitor. He's a tough guy. He's everything that you're looking for. And I don't think there's a question he'll fail if he stays healthy and stays on the field. No question in my mind, he will be a top 5 or 6 quarterback.
It's great to catch up with you again, Jim. I hope you're healthy, and good luck with this upcoming season.
Well, thanks so much. We love watching you, and thank you for having me.
That's Jim Irsay, the Colts owner.